Amsterdam came out in theaters this weekend, and shit, this movie was a flop. This movie reportedly cost $80 million. It was supposed to cost $50 million, but when they had to change the location of where they were shooting this movie, uh, it moved the budget from $50 to $80 million, and they had to move the location because of COVID. So, and then they spent $40 million advertising the movie. So that's $120 million loss from this movie because it only made $6 million its opening weekend. This film was a disaster with critics as well. It did not get great reviews, but however, I still want to go see it. And here's the thing: I'm not a fan of David O. Russell as a person. I can't even say I'm a fan of him as a director because I haven't seen really any of his films at all. So this is gonna be an unbiased review, I guess, of this movie, which is something that I can't really say that a lot of critics are being with this movie. I think a lot of critics are taking their bias of this director, who I agree is not the greatest person, but they're taking that as an excuse to shit on this movie. And I think that's something that we need to call out more often with our entertainment. When bad people are being not bad people, but bad critics are doing things like that. You know, it's terrible to the film, not so much the people, and even to a degree the people involved. Because David O. Russell may be a terrible person, but is Anya Taylor-Joy a terrible person? I don't know. But you know, we can't really just take all these people and start doing this shit. So we need to be fair to the film as critics, and this film was not great. This is a movie that it tries to be like. So I reviewed See How They Run earlier, and that movie's a murder comedy as well. This one just goes over the rails at certain points, and what I mean, and this is I think the best way to describe what's wrong with this movie, it's very clunky. The script here, at some points, is great. And then at other points, it's not great. And then it goes back to being great. And that's just kind of how the movie works. There's moments like that with the script. The performances are really great. And then they kind of switch back and forth between great, not great. And just by the end of it, I stopped really paying attention to what was happening in the movie, and I lost interest because this movie is so clunkily paced, written, directed, acted, everything. And I think all the problems go back to the direction. I think some of the script, like if some of these lines came from the same script, obviously the person is a good writer. It probably just means that the problem with this movie is that the guy who directed it wasn't great at getting these actors to do the right line deliveries and things like that. I don't know if that's because he was rushed for time, because this is a pretty good director from what I understand. You know, David O. Russell's made a lot of really good award-winning movies with great performances, so I don't know. But overall, I just think this movie was just really clunkily edited, paced, directed, written, acted, just all around clunky. That doesn't mean there weren't great moments in this movie, but they weren't enough to really make up for it. I mean, there were moments of cinematography I liked in this movie. I thought were really cool. And then there were other moments I'm like, yeah, you could have shot that more interestingly. You know, I mean, this movie's just not great overall. I think this movie has a lot of issues. And I just think that this might be David O. Russell's last film. And maybe that's for the best. Because, I mean, he's not the greatest person. And his movies aren't really captivating audiences.